Howdy, I am Tom Christiansen of Neurochrome, and I am back with this Hitachi SR-5200. I wasn't really expecting this to be a two-part series on the repair of this thing, but here we are. As I noticed in the first part, there is a quite large imbalance between the left and right channel at certain settings of the volume control. And you can see that here when I'm measuring the output of the amplifier with the same signal fed to the left and right channel. One channel is clearly lower than the other. Let's fix that once and for all. And to do that, I'm going to start by cleaning the pots. My buddy who owns this had said that he has already tried that, but I'm just going to try that one more time. What people tend to forget is that you need both the contact cleaner and some sort of lubrication in the potentiometers for that cleaning to work well. And if the pot is actually worn out, then I'll just replace it. Well, because these potentiometers are of the push-pull type, so they can be hard to find. They are available, but I haven't been able to find one that is suitable for the volume control in this amp. So hopefully I can find a standard pot that'll work. Of course, before you open this thing and mess with it, first power it off and make sure that it is unplugged. Then what you do is you remove these screws on the bottom, and then the entire receiver assembly just slides out of the cover. So that's actually pretty easy, and here's what it looks like on the inside. This is the preamplifier board right here. This is the FM/AM tuner. We have the power amplifier, the power transformer. We also have this pulley system that when I turn the tuning knob, moves the tuning capacitor here, and also the needle that indicates the frequency that the radio is tuned to. And I definitely do not want to mess with that. I messed with it a little bit in the first video already because I needed to move this needle a little bit. But if you start pulling this apart, it's, I'm guessing, pretty tough to put back together, although there is a drawing of how it's supposed to run in the service manual, so I suppose you could try, but I really don't recommend that. What I'm hoping will happen here is that I can remove these knobs on the front simply by pulling on it, so that worked. And then there's a couple of screws on the top here, along with some screws along the bottom, and I hope that will be enough to give me access to the potentiometers so that I can get some cleaning spray into them. So now with the two screws on the top and the two screws kind of towards the center on the bottom removed, the nut around the headphone jack removed, we can just slide the front off. So that part was actually easier than I thought it was going to be. And now what comes, or what is becoming apparent here, is that the switches are held in place with these Phillips screws here. And this whole front panel is held by a couple of screws as well. And I am going to remove those. Then potentiometers are held by nuts here. I still don't have any sort of access to the potentiometers, so I wonder if my buddy is just not remembering correctly that he cleaned the pots here, or if he paid somebody to do it, and I certainly hope he didn't. Then I don't think they did it, because there's thread locker on all these things, and it doesn't look like anybody has touched this since it was built. So anyhow, I'll get this panel off and then we can see what we're dealing with. Now we're getting somewhere. So now I have the panel removed, as you can see, and I actually found a 11mm nut driver to be super handy for that. And that gets the nuts around the potentiometers. If you don't have that, the 11mm deep socket or even like an adjustable wrench will do just as well. And now we have access to the potentiometers. The preamp board is basically loose, as you can see. It just sits sandwiched in between the front panel, or that internal panel, and a couple of notches in the bottom plate. It's sort of an interesting way of doing things, but that's what they chose. And now, if you look really, really closely at the volume pot, you'll notice these openings in it. And you can even see the wiper go back and forth as I turn the potentiometer. That's where you want to get your cleaning fluid. And for that, I use Deoxit D5. I start with that. That's a good contact cleaner. So squirt that in there, rotate the pot back and forth, make sure you get the entire travel of it. And then once that dries, I give it some Deoxit Fader Lube F5. And these products are made by Cake. They're not sponsoring the video, maybe they should. But anyway, these products work pretty well, and you can find them at your local electronics parts store. This is a stereo amp, so of course the volume pot is a stereo pot. And that means it has two resistive tracks within it, one for the left channel and one for the right channel. And they both need to be cleaned. So you need to hit both of them with the contact cleaner. And in my case, it helps a little bit that I'm a bit ambidextrous here. So I can hit both tracks like that. And then I rotate the pot from maximum to minimum volume, just back and forth, gently back and forth. And just sort of massage the dirt off the track. That's how these contact cleaners work. And I'll just give it another squirt here. Like that. And massage it and wait for the stuff to dry, and then it's time for the fader lube. And now that the contact cleaner has had a chance to dry, it's time for the fader lube. And this is lubrication for potentiometers and faders. So same procedure, you get the straw into the resistive track or as close to it as you can and give it a good squirt. And then you rotate the potentiometer from minimum to maximum to work it in. And that's really all there is to it. And once you're confident that you have it worked in pretty good, all there's left to do is to mop up any messes you've created and then wait for it to dry. And now for the moment of truth. Now keep in mind that the input board is still sort of floating and these switches are dangling and so on, and there is exposed mains voltage. So you do want to be careful when you power the amp like this and make sure that nothing contacts anything conductive. But that's all good to go. And I have the oscilloscope hooked up like you can see here with the inputs of the power amp board connected to the two channels of the oscilloscope. And I have my signal generator output hooked up to the auxiliary input of the receiver. And now let's have a look at the input voltage to the power amp as I turn the volume knob. So this is much better. Now when I turn the volume up, sure, there's a little bit of a channel imbalance, but it's really not bad until you reach about 4 o'clock on the volume control. So that's really pretty darn good. And even at this sort of extreme channel imbalance, the two channels are really only off by about a dB. So that's really not bad, especially for a piece of equipment that's as old as this is. So I'm gonna call this done. Finally. Hopefully there won't be a part 3. Anyway, so as they say in instruction manuals, assembly is the reverse of removal. So I'll get everything buttoned up and I think this is good to go. And there you have it. Hopefully I got all the bugs nailed this time. If not, I guess there'll be a part 3. Stay tuned. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you click like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And if you have suggestions for how I can improve these videos or topics you would like me to cover, drop them in the comments. I really appreciate the comments, even if I don't always respond to them immediately. But thanks again for watching and have a great day.